Wow, nice.
Okay. Let's bring it in. Ladies and gentlemen. So, we are not watching an educational video. If there is time at the end, we might be watching an educational video. I decided that we will save that for another day. I know. Sorry. But we are going to find more about differences between sheep and goats today. And we will be reviewing for our, I'm not going to call it an exam because that's a scary word. We'll call it more like a quiz.
Quiz. Yeah, that's a lot better.
A quiz is better, I think.
A quiz is only 50%.
I graded everybody's poultry exam. Very happy with the scores. There's, I think, a lot more effort put into
doing bell work.
Studying at least. What?
We're doing bell work.
Yeah, what's wrong with bell work?
We've never done bell work before.
Oh, there's just the first time for everything. It's fine.
No, there's not.
I'm gonna write it on mine. Hey, so just write this in your notes if you would. Did
Where?
everybody get the gold, by the way?
No.
That was yesterday's one. We can still see it.
Well, I'll turn on one light so everybody can see the gold. Oh, it is? Yeah. Okay. Okay, there's one. Remember we talked about, well, yes, but one that we talked about had to do with eating habits. What are goats?
Goats are grazers.
Browsers. And sheep are grazers. Very good.
We actually remembered.
You could say that if you like.
Actually, when we were talking about grazing and browsing, I had an idea like sheep graze, goat browse, and it shows a goat in a store I'm looking at.
That's nice. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
I got a question, Hoffman. Hoffman.
Yes, Ken, the motion.
Are we turning in the bell work? Are we turning the bell work in? Can we just write on our notes?
Yeah, just write it on your notes. Just something to help you remember. Today is Thursday. I know, I thought yesterday was Thursday too, and I was kind of screwed up because I woke up this morning and I was like, yeah, Friday? And I was like, no, it's Thursday. Which I'm actually okay with Thursdays.
I'd say it'd be a good order to see us every day.
Oh, no. No, I was coming to this class.
What does that say?
Lao Tzu.
You mean you love being tested by teenagers who want food?
Wouldn't trade it for the world.
You trade it for a million bucks?
Maybe.
About
Oh, yeah. No, you guys are
You guys don't even.
I think everyone would choose a $50 trillion.
I've got another proposition for you. What if you blew it all in like a month?
Well, then I'd be broke, probably.
How would you burn a street good?
You probably
Yes, it's called
Well,
yes.
You could buy like a make it so I can't withdraw all my money at once. And then I just get like a paycheck every month. So,
What?
like
Smart.
$1 million.
I'll go buy a new car. Or at least fix mine.
I will buy a new car also.
Me? I buy a new car.
I probably
You buy a new car, then buy a new house.
All right.
Hoffman would buy himself a wife.
Does anybody got that? Dark,
Man.
Man. All right. Does everybody have a quote?
Yeah.
Well, Tanner just effectively made it so we don't get breakfast burritos.
Wait, no!
See, Tanner, when you do that, I'll just
Tanner,
use the
take it
whole
back.
class against you.
Take it.
I'm just kidding.
Tanner doesn't get any. That's
Did you guys get that just now though?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So we still get them right?
congratulations.
I like how I'm dropping these nice puns and then everybody's still like, well, wait, we still get the breakfast burrito, right?
No, it's like congratulations.
Yeah, I will make it.
Let's use the one.
I don't think we need to turn up the
Another way?
Exactly.
Alright.
It just makes sense. Like, long.
So, does everybody have an answer for the bell work?
Yes.
Okay, I understand that you guys haven't done bell work yet, but this is something I want to start doing.
Let's just start working.
Just stop right there.
Complainers. Guys, it is not that bad. Now, let's just focus up. I'm not going to take any more questions. Can somebody please tell me two differences that isn't Junior or Marcus, because I feel like they talk all the time. That's not a bad thing, but Hunter. Everybody listen to Hunter, please.
Sheep's tails go down and
Okay. Shannon?
Goats' tails go up and they're small.
They're what?
They're small.
Small. Okay, they are smaller than some breeds. Okay, did anything? Okay, Brittany?
aren't like goats brown trousers?
Yes. Sheep are grazers. And goats are browsers. Did you have one, Natalia? Oh, you're just signaling me? Okay, we'll just okay. Now we're going to play a little game. I want you to put your hands up if you think it's a sheep. And then I'll get a count. And then I'll ask you if you think it's a goat. Oh, never mind. Objectives. Oh, can I forget about objectives? Okay, today we're going to compare and contrast sheep and goats. I know we did a little bit of that tomorrow, or yesterday. We're not in the future yet. Back to the future. So, then we're going to identify common sheep breeds. I also know that we did that yesterday. But I prepared this presentation specially for you guys. And I felt pretty proud. No. I did this for you. I did it for my college originally, then I revised it for you. Same thing. Okay, then we're going to
Same thing, it's
identify
not the
different
same
products. I know we've gone over that too, but I wanted to show you guys some numbers of the meat production and consumption in the U.S. So, now we'll go. If it's another slide, then I'm just done. Okay, raise your
Sheep.
hands if you think it's a sheep. Okay.
I think it's a sheep.
Raise your hand if you think it's a goat. Boom.
Oh, dang.
It's a sheep. Okay.
I didn't see
I know it's got the horns, low quality picture, but tail, can't see it, so that might be a little indicator right there. Okay. Sheep or goat. This is one of my favorite ones. This is literally, I'll tell you the name afterwards. I was just about to give it away. Sheep or goat? Sheep first. If you think it's a sheep. Okay, we got 3. Okay, if you think it's a goat, raise your hand. Okay, if you didn't raise your hand and you're not paying attention, I'm sad. Sheep. This is literally called a fat rumped sheep. This is its buttocks. Gluteus maximus, if you prefer. Okay? It does have the horns, yes. And I realize that you probably cannot see a tail in this massive round. The butt may have eaten the tail. I don't know. Okay, sheep.
It's a dog.
Raise your hand if you think it's a sheep. It's not a dog. It's not an option. Okay, raise your hand if you think it's a goat. Okay, I had to throw a couple easy ones in here for you guys. So you
Go.
Okay, sheep. Raise your hand.
Hold on. I think that is sheep.
It's a sheep.
Okay. Goats.
It's a sheep.
What'd you say, Meg? Suffolk. That's it. Yeah, Suffolk. Nope. The L is silent, like the P is silent in pterodactyl. Okay, this is one of my favorites. Sheep. Goat. Okay, very good. What does this goat have that others don't that we've looked at?
He has a tail.
Well, yes.
Wait.
Okay. Yeah, he's more of like a billy goat looking type of dude. I'm still looking for the right answer. Oh, I heard it.
Udder.
Udder. Okay. This is the udder right here. 2 feet. Okay. So this is another example. Female goat. Horns. Okay. I think that's the last one. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go a little more in depth with the comparing and the contrasting. So I tried to liven these slides up a little bit with some pictures. You'll see this later on in the slideshow, but these are actually called Targhee sheep. There's Targhee rams. And they were actually developed, where have we heard the name Targhee before? Maybe. What's just north of us?
Grand.
Targhee National Forest. This was actually developed in, I guess I don't really know how you say it, Dubois, Idaho.
Boys.
Is that how you say it? Okay, well I was going for the, I don't know, I don't want to pronounce it wrong like you would say Illinois, not Illinois.
I hate when
I say Illinois.
Or Missouri.
Okay.
Sorry, Diamond. Okay, so anyway, yeah, these were developed in Idaho at their research station. I don't know what year it was, but I thought that was kind of cool. So there's your little claim to fame. Okay, so we've talked a lot about it, but why choose sheep or goats? I know that they're a lot smaller than cows and they don't provide as much for us, like you can't get as much product off of them and they don't generate as much revenue as a cow does, but they can survive where cows can't. We also talked about them eating the problem weeds. So when sheep are grazing, they'll go, so grazing just means you're eating low to the turf, and they'll actually go for the weeds first. So it's a biological control. I think we talked about that yesterday. So it's an alternative to pesticides, herbicides, things like that. So you can use them for that. The profit per acre is often the same, but what I mean by profit per acre, do you know on the poultry exam, we talked about the low land requirements. So you need less land to keep the sheep on. So they put it on this scale where it's profit per acre. So you're going to have more acres associated with cows and less for sheep. But you're going to get less for sheep and more for cows, so it actually balances out. Okay? You don't have to have as much capital investment for those sheep, or less equipment, less maintenance, less labor, everything like that. So you get less for it, but you pay less for it too. So it is often the same. Okay, so this is one thing that we talked about yesterday, and I couldn't quite remember the name, but this is, sheep are Ovis aries. They have 54 chromosomes. Does anybody know how many chromosomes the human has? 4? Okay, so you're kind of right.
46.
There's 23 pairs of chromosomes, 46 chromosomes in the human body, 22 autosomes, 2 sex chromosomes. Okay, little science lesson again. But sheep have 54. Goats are Capra hircus, and they have 60. There have been times where they've tried to breed sheep and goats together, and it has been successful, but it says fertile sheep, goat hybrids are rare. So, does anybody know what a mule is?
Donkey and horse, right?
Yeah, it's a donkey and a horse. Okay, it's got a different number of chromosomes than a donkey or a horse, and they're always fertile. Or, I'm sorry, they're infertile.
Yeah.
So donkey or mules can't actually breed with each other just because they're sterile. Same with these sheep-goat hybrids. So the fertile ones are very rare. You rarely ever see a sheep-goat hybrid that can breed. Okay? And then another thing, here's another difference right here, and I'm not going to say it, but sheep say, okay, fine. Sheep say ba, and goats say ma. Okay? Yeah, there you go. I embarrassed myself just for you. Can I tell a funny story?
Yeah.
Okay. So, when we were doing livestock judging at the University of Idaho, one of our professors' name is Matt Doman. He's one of the coolest livestock dudes ever. And I was in charge of the goats, and they were out in the pen, and he was like, he came running out, and he's like, Sam, did you say my name? And I was like, no. He's like, oh, I thought I heard my name. I thought I heard Matt. And I was like, all right. Calm down, Mr. Dolan. Actually, it's Dr. Dolan. Anybody who has a PhD, you have to call him doctor. Okay, then we talked about their tails. That's probably the easiest way to differentiate between sheep and goats. So there's just another good picture right here. So there's the goat over there on the left. Okay, and then the sheep over here on the right. Talked about their eating habits again. Okay, browsers. We talked about the leaves, the twigs, the vines, so they'll get up on their hind legs to get some of that higher foliage. Okay, and then the sheep are grazers, and they like to stay low to the ground where the fresh, nice grass is. Okay, and here's just a picture of what that looks like. Okay, and a similarity is that they are gregarious. So both sheep and goats, they tend to form a group, so that's why they call it a herd. So a lot of the times you'll see them in flocks like this, so they call sheep flocks. Okay? So they often won't be seen alone. They're not the lone wolf type. Okay. So, similarities, ruminants, we talked about that. Hoofed mammals, so they have the split hooves. Similar gestation periods, and what is gestation again? Did we talk about gestation? Yeah, length of the pregnancy is what gestation is. So they have similar gestation periods for another similarity. And they belong to the same subfamily, but actually have they're different species. Okay, differences of the tails, the eating habits, number of chromosomes, and then we talked about the Ovis aries versus the Capra hircus. So this is the goat, that's the sheep over there. Okay? And then since we already went through some sheep breeds, I thought it would be kind of fun to quiz you guys. It's not great or anything, I just want to see if you know the answer. So what I want us to do is write it, don't say it out loud, just write it in your notes, and then we'll go through them all. Okay. And there was a few we didn't look at, but I think there's at least 3 in here that were on the other slide.
Oh, that's
Just don't say it out loud, please.
Did I say pretty sheep?
You can say that. Did everybody got it? All right.
That's one.
Okay, this is one we didn't talk about.
Oh.
So it's okay. This is called South Down.
South
Okay.
Florida.
totally get that.
I'm sure. Okay. This one is
North.
Where's Southbound from?
Southdown.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
What's this one?
Because usually what I have students do, so like I said, I made this for the university. What I would have students do is we would go into the computer lab and I'd give them all the breeds that I wanted them to research. We'd research, come back, do a little presentation, and then I'd quiz you guys on this.
What's this one?
But I didn't want to.
We didn't do that one.
To do it. I'm trying to remember what the name is. It's kind of funky. It starts with a C. But I will look it up.
Nope, we don't do that one.
But anyway, we talked about this one at the very beginning. Write it down. Okay. Okay, so what's this one? Everybody yell out.
Suffolk.
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 Suffolk is how you pronounce it.
Suffolk, England.
Okay, now what's this one?
The Dorset.
No.
The Hampshire.
There we go.
Haha.
Hampshire. Okay, we talked about how the Hampshire looks very similar to a Suffolk. And these are actually the exact same pictures. Me and Mr. Wetzel found them from the same place, but he's got this white forehead fluffiness. Okay. So we talked about. No, we wouldn't.
You don't know what that
Oh,
is?
I'm sorry. This is the target.
You didn't do it.
Okay, so we talked about how twin births are the most common, and they're actually the most desirable for producers. So, as the sheep actually get older, they produce more lambs. Okay? So it just has to do with bigger uterus, larger capacity as they get older. Better nutrition just so they can support those lambs. Okay, and then you guys don't need to know about the feeding or anything, so you don't have to write this down. But I just wanted to kind of let you know what they eat when all the, I guess they're going to use the word fresh forage. So usually after that, they'll feed them hay or silage. They call those roughages, okay? And like I said, they can break those down because they're ruminants. They can break down the, what am I trying to think of? I said it yesterday. I can't think of it. But anyway, they can break down the plants like we can't just because they have those special microorganisms in their guts that help break it down into nutrients so they can digest it. So, yeah, this is just the green forage. Silage is like usually corn or a saccharide based, and saccharide just means sugar. So a sugar based product that is allowed to ferment, and they'll feed it to the cows, sheep, horses, just any kind of livestock. And we've already done the products. But the main thing about this slide is I just wanted to let you guys know about the world meat consumption and how lamb and mutton play into it. So pork is the world's most largely consumed protein. And then right down here at the bottom, if you combine lamb and mutton, it's about 6% across the entire world. Okay? So there's not a lot of lamb or goat being consumed. And poultry is actually quite a bit higher than I thought. And the only reason that pork is above beef is because of China. Well, in India. They eat a lot of pork in China. I don't know if you guys remember the numbers. Pork is good. Yeah, so China produces way more pork than any other country in the entire world. Okay, so that plays into their consumption. And since they're the biggest country, Then they eat a lot of it. And then the next biggest country is India, and Junior said it. They don't eat a lot. Well,
They don't eat any. Well,
some do. There's a very high Muslim population in India, but the Hindus are the ones that don't eat beef, and they're the main population in India, and so a lot of them will just eat pork, not beef. Okay. Okay, and then here it kind of breaks it down by country. And one thing I want you guys to notice is that in the United States, so this per capita, so that just means per person, okay? Consumption of lamb and mutton in the United States is about 1%. Okay? Why? Well, it's being roasted.
Oh my gosh.
Would you rather see the carcass? Just the raw carcass? Because there's a picture of that coming up.
Oh, why?
Because you guys just need to know. Okay, and
You should
then,
watch them.
No, we should not.
so I thought that this was kind of a huge range, 2 to 30 pounds, so I guess it just depends on what kind of breed you have. But one thing I wanted you guys to notice is the average fleece weight in the United States is 8.2 pounds per sheep per year, because that's when they shear them, okay? Okay, and then we talked about the shearing and we saw it happening. We said it was just like a haircut. It doesn't hurt the sheep, well, unless you're careless with it, and most producers aren't. And we saw that guy totally shear sheep in about 4.5 minutes, which was pretty impressive. And then when we looked at the finer coarse wool,
real men were
yeah, this slide actually came right off of a wool manufacturer. This is like it's like, hey, buy our product, but I stole the slide from them because that's what we do. So if you guys look really close, you can see these kind of ribbon patterns in the wool. That's called the crimp. And the tighter the crimp, the higher quality wool it is and the finer it is. So it creates a three-dimensional structure and it holds the air in to insulate. So that's why wool is so warm. It's just because of this crimp, this structure. Okay? It wicks moisture away. Wool is like the best for insulating. Alright? And that is the end. So now, I'm going to hand out the review. We do have a quiz. It is tomorrow. Well, then we will schedule a time to do it. Alright. So, we're going to do the review, and I can help you guys out a little bit. Some of the things we haven't gotten to, and I'm going to go and get those. I'm going to pull them up on the other presentation. Such as like the types of operation, and those are pretty simple. We just have to name them. So then, yeah, the test will be tomorrow, and I will get the stuff for the food tomorrow. Okay, and I'll probably have to start on those early.
We don't have ram meat.
Huh?
We don't have ram meat.
No, we're not gonna have lamb.
Question, can I
Yeah,
ask
we need-
mine?
Yeah, it can just be meat and cheese.
Yeah.
Okay. Junior, will you help me get these out? Okay, so you guys have about 40 minutes to review, which is should be more than enough time. But like I said, I would like you guys to use your time wisely, like you have been, because I think, you know what, I think it made a huge difference on the last exam. Everybody going?
There you go. So you gotta pay attention.
One second. of that now. So, you can understand if you just want to transcribe these right onto your review rather than writing them in your notes and then writing them in your review. So, what you want to do is just completely fine. So, these are 5 types of sheep production systems. And I believe on the review it just says to name, but if you wanted to describe, that's fine. But we'll go over these. Okay, so what I would do is with the naming of them, probably just write down 2 of them and then say one thing about them. Okay? Because I think on the exam it actually asks you to describe 2 of them. So if you just write down one of these about each of them, that'll probably be good enough. Farm flock, okay? You don't see a lot of it out in the west here. It's more located in the Midwestern, Eastern, and Southern. A lot of that is more smaller operations just because they're producing lambs that go to market, but they're also producing some of the lambs that'll go into like 4-H or FFA projects that will be shown at the fair. Okay. They also raise them for wool. And then the purebred. Does everybody remember what purebred means? They're only bred with other sheep from the same breed. Okay. They want to protect the attributes and the characteristics of that one breed. So they're selling the rams and the ewes of that ideal type. And when they sell them, the purebred are going to be probably more expensive. Just because you are paying more for that highly specialized animal. And as a consumer, or a producer, you know exactly what you're looking for with this purebred flock type. Okay, so say you want a purebred Suffolk, you know exactly what you're going for, exactly what to expect. Okay, so with that certainty and everything else, and with that demand, that's what makes that price go way up. Okay, there are the higher management requirements, and then I know I talked about the 4-H and FFA lambs, but a lot of the times this is where you're going to get your first animals from, just because you want to start them off on something that's good, okay? So Suffolks is one of the most popular in the U.S., and we saw that on the slide before. But that's probably the main one that you're going to see. And then the knowledge of genetics is highly important whenever you're doing a purebred flock of any livestock operation. Okay, there's the range band method and the confinement method, and we've talked about the confinement. That would be the indoors with the climate control. Okay, they're probably just, I'm not going to say they're just like the chickens, but they probably go in as a group and out as a group, so they're kept with same ages and things like that. Okay, for this range band, I would say that these ones are used for more of that biological control. So they're used for areas with a lot of vegetation. And right there it says the low vegetation animals are used for wool. Does anybody know why that might be? If they don't have as much vegetation by them?
Because they don't really need it, they're not using it for meat, they're not using it for wool.
Exactly. So if you have a low vegetation area, they're not going to eat as much of that vegetation, so they're not converting a lot of it to protein, so they're going to use it for wool. And does anybody remember what color wool we said was the most desirable? White. Very good. Okay, and then there's the lamb feeding production. So I'm just going to read this for you guys. Involves weaning lambs and selling them to feedlots where the lambs are fed out to slaughter weight. So it's much like what you see from the beef industry, so, or even the dairy industry. When you get those young calves, the males are castrated and sent off to the lot. Well, these lambs that are weaned, it's just the same process. They'll sell them to the feedlots, and after they get to a certain market weight, then they'll set them off to get slaughtered. Okay, and then here's just a couple of things that you guys might want to write down and be aware of. And we talked about this earlier today. The consumption of lamb and mutton are not as common. Like we said, in the United States, it's around 1%, so not very big at all. And then there's a huge problem with predators. Okay, coyotes, wolves, even stray dogs, they'll kill sheep fairly easily, and sheep get spooked very easily. So I don't know that we saw the fainting goats, but that doesn't happen with all goats and all sheep, I hope you know. So when they get spooked, some of the sheep kind of tense up. They don't faint, but they don't really know what to do. So it's easy for a wolf or a coyote or a dog to run a sheep down. Okay, so a lot of that just has to do with like fencing and how you contain those animals. That's why some of those confinement operations are so popular, just because with those buildings you can make sure that no predators are going to get in to get your sheep. But with that comes the higher cost of the buildings. Okay, and then you can easily raise them on rough terrain with little feed. They don't eat as much, but they are good converters of feed to protein. And they'll eat all the problem weeds and probably all the vegetation out of that area anyways, even if you are feeding them, just because they eat a lot. And then this one, I don't know if anybody here has ever handled a sheep or a goat. Alright. But they're fairly easy. You can use a halter. Usually you don't see that. With sheep, you usually have their head right by your leg, and you have one hand under their, or right here, under their mouth, right next to the throat, and then you have your other hand right here, and you just lead them along. Most sheep that I've seen, 4-H members and younger people can handle them easily just because they're easily led. And especially if you train them, you can just walk them all over the place without any kind of halter or leash on them. So that's kind of nice for the projects, and that's why sheep are popular for those 4-H projects, the smaller kids. And then we're back to review. So I'm assuming you guys got through this all fairly well. And if I need to go back, if you guys need to know like color or some kind of characteristic for these, I can go back to those slides. And then,
Where they're from?
yeah, if you put where they're from, that's totally fine. And then we just talked about the 2 types of operations, and if you need to see those again, we'll just go back to this slide right here. We talked about all of those. But that should be able to get you through your review, and then seeing as it's a short day tomorrow, I'm not going to give you guys any time before the exam to study. And if I do, it'll probably only be about 5 minutes. So I want you guys to use this time right now because we still have about 20 minutes. I want you guys to use this time right now to study, okay? Because if we're going to take the exam and do the whole food thing, we're going to need that full 50 minutes. And I'm aware of that. So if you guys want the food and you want to have time to work on your exam, you guys need to study right now with the time that I give you, okay? I'll turn it back on. Does anybody need me to go back to any slides for the review?